Good afternoon from the farmer's garden. I'm one of the farmers and I'm about to pick peas and okra in the garden. First, I wanted to show you something that we and pretty much everybody around us are dealing with this year, and that would be armyworms. Now, we don't have livestock. We're not, we have the goats as pets, we have the chickens. Chickens love them. But we don't have cows and we don't have horses that we're trying to graze, and we're not trying to do hay. But on this farm, on this 100 acres, my dad has cows and my dad has hay. And the armyworms are really affecting him. But we're also going to be checking to make sure that they're not getting into our young peas that we've planted. Some of the older ones should be okay, but these young ones, if the armyworms hit them, they'll just wipe them out. So I'm going to turn this around and let you look at what I'm talking about. All right, so what's an armyworm? Armyworms are caterpillars, and I got to find one. I could see one right before I started the video, and now of course I've lost it. They were caterpillars to a very small moth, but when they come through, they will decimate everything. Y'all, I seriously had one right before I started the video, and now I have lost sight of it. If I get to digging, I'm sure I'll find 50 of them. Oh, we've got tiny baby grasshoppers. There's one right there. Right there. That's the culprit. All right. I bent down in the yard a little while ago. Our yard is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and it's these guys. All right. So just in this area, there's one, there's two. I'm sure there are more in here that I'm missing. So we're gonna, yep, right there. We're gonna go up in the yard and check, or not in the yard, over in the garden, and check the peas, because these armyworms, when they move through, they kind of all just march through and they'll eat everything. They'll eat a whole hay field. Most farmers will tell you that once your hay is on the ground, it's been cut, it's safe, but I've actually seen the armyworms attack even the hay laying on the ground. So they're kind of bad dudes. All right, so we're just gonna kind of come through these peas. These are only a few weeks old, and I want to check and make sure that they're not on here. We did have to spray for the armyworms in the tomatoes yesterday. I was pruning the tomatoes way back and weeding them out so that they can kind of start over as fall tomatoes, and we had a significant number of armyworms in them. So Brandon went ahead and sprayed them to keep them from being eaten. I'm not seeing any in here, and that's a good sign. I am seeing holes in the leaves, but I'm guessing that is probably from grasshoppers. Brandon would be able to tell you better, but I'm guessing that's what that's from. So that's a good sign. The peas are looking good. But if you know anybody with cattle, they're struggling right now, because these armyworms they're not just on this 100 acres, they're everywhere right now. My brother texted yesterday. He was in town and the armyworms were so bad they were crawling on the curb. My dad texted this morning he killed 28 in his carport. They're everywhere, okay? So if you know anybody with cattle or horses or hay fields or any of those things, that's the kind of thing that we deal with this time of year. It's just the bug pressure. Some years it's the grasshoppers, many years it's the armyworms. So that's what's kind of going on right now. And like I say, it's not affecting our garden very much, but it's affecting agriculture, and that affects us in the long run. So just a quick video to kind of tell you what's happening. Hope you learned something about armyworms. Hope you enjoyed your visit. Be sure and come back when you can stay longer.